What's going on, everyone? Welcome back into Breaking Boards. In today's episode, we're going to break down Thursday Night Football's showdown contest over on DraftKings between the New York Jets traveling to take on the New England Patriots. Got a tough division game here coming up on Thursday, coming off that absolute banger on Monday night. I mean, I'm not sure what in the world happened in that game. Quite a few questions for me in that spot. I mean, ends up game total being like 17. I think it was 10-7 is what it finished up at. Um, just a horrible spot to watch. I mean, it was just a terrible game altogether. Philly couldn't get things going, and when it looked like they had something going, they'd stall out. Green Bay, I think, I heard this stat during the broadcast that they had crossed the 50-yard line in the second half something like 5 times and come away with 3 points or 7 points, whatever it was. I mean, it was a terrible game to watch. Hoping this game is better on Thursday night, expecting it to be much of the same. This looks like a spot where, to be honest with you, if you're playing more than like 20, 40, $100 just trying to have some fun on this slate, you probably need to call the Gamblers Anonymous hotline and go ahead and get that thing working and rolling for you. But we'll break it down. Regardless, we have a game, so we're going to look into it. Hopefully you guys are having a good week. And without further ado, let's jump right into the breakdown for Thursday Night Football. Actually, before we jump into it, one quick story. And just, I don't know if you guys have encountered this, but the more you get into this space and the more you start to create content and things of that nature, starting to interact and reach out to people on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Saw that Josh Norris, if you don't know about Josh, he puts out a lot of content for Underdog, does some great work over there on that team. So really a big fan of the work they put out. He had commented something in regards to, Aaron Glenn, the New York Jets coach, firing back about the injury report for week number 11, saying reach out to Rich Karimi or whatever, the reporter for New York that's been covering the Jets forever. If you have any questions, reach out to him since he had all the updates on Garrett Wilson. But like this competitive advantage that Aaron Glenn thinks he has or portrays that he has within the media, I think I made the comment that, that's the guys that I want to listen to is the guy who has one NFL win and somebody, sarcastically, oh, the Jets have 2 wins. I'm like, well, obviously that changes the entire narrative. Going from 1 to 2 wins is definitely going to change the whole outlook on how I'm looking at Aaron Glenn as a coach. To be honest with you, from what I've seen, guy's just not head coach caliber. And I think that's going to show on Thursday night. I mean, probably a prime time game here to get him underneath the spotlight and hopefully get him to the point where he's back being a defensive coordinator, which he should be. And that's no knock on him. I mean, some guys are just meant to be coordinators, not meant to be head coaches, but he just hasn't done a great job. Glad to see they got rid of Daboll. I think that he was, in my opinion, trash as a head coach. Saw something like Dart had been in concussion protocol like 5 times, 7 times, something like that, since Daboll had taken over as a head coach. So you can't be risking your players out there. I mean, Dart looks like he's, a franchise level quarterback. I mean, I know it's early in his career, but he looked good. He's had moments. So I don't understand why you put your quarterback at risk so often. But anyways, off my soapbox, just wanted to cover a couple of things before we jump into the video. And let's jump right into Thursday's plays. Again, this game is going to be ugly. First up, you have for the Jets at the QB position, Justin Fields. I think if you want to pair Fields on Thursday night, I'm going to lean to do 2-4 and 3-3 builds only for this slate. I would build 3-3, obviously, from both sides. If you're talking 2-4s, I'd probably have 2 Jets, 4 Patriots would be how I would look to play this game. The Patriots do have double the implied team total as that of the Jets. This game total is at 43.5, and the implied team total for New England's at 28, and the implied team total for the Jets is at like 14.5. So I'm going to look to get to a lot of 2-4 builds, but I think the field's going to get there also, which leads me to want to play smaller field contest. I'll probably have a couple of lineups in, maybe $150 contest, something along those lines for Thursday night. So I'm not over the top, happy about the slate that we're about to break down. But Justin Fields here in the captain spot does have rushing upside, so you don't have to play that many teammates alongside him. I think you can pair him along with one of his cheap pass catchers or Brees Hall in this spot. So don't mind in getting to Fields in the captain spot. And if you do, my preferred ways to play him would be you can get to Brees Hall. You can get to Folk if you'd like, who's been one of the best kickers in the league this year. My favorite way to play him would be alongside Mason Taylor. And then as we're talking about these wide receivers, you have Garrett Wilson out this week. So you could look to get to Isaiah Davis. You could look to get to Tyler Johnson, Adonai Mitchell, Alan Lazard, Arian Smith, Isaiah Williams, John Mechie, Jeremy Ruckert, Nwangu. Beck has seen a couple of snaps. I mean, there's quite a few guys here in the spot who are going to see snaps. But if I were going to play Justin Fields up top, my favorite way to play it would be 2 of these guys or 3 of these guys, and then mix and match those cheap wide receivers as you see fit. And that would be going from Tyler Johnson, Adonai Mitchell, Lazard, Smith, Williams, and Mechie. Prefer, if I had to put these guys in order, which we will do when we get to the wide receiver spot, but to go ahead and give you an outlook on how I would rank them, I would probably go, and this is price-based also, I'd probably go Arian Smith, Isaiah Williams, Tyler Johnson, Mechie, Mitchell, Lazard. If I had to put those guys in order, man, is that a tough thing to put in order for Thursday night. But again, I would go predominantly 2 of these guys or 3 of these guys in lineups where I have Justin Field in the captain spot. If we look at the running back position for the New York Jets here, you have predominantly 2 guys, but some guys are mispositioned. So you have Brees Hall. Let's get him in the captain spot. So I do want to have some of him in the captain spot. So you have Brees Hall, you have Isaiah Davis, you have Nwangu, I think I'm saying that correctly, and you have Anthony Beck. Still missing Braylon Allen here. Beck has seen a couple of snaps, but he's put up no fantasy output really for the season. If he were to accidentally fall into the end zone like he did here in Week 5 against Dallas, I mean, you're looking good at $200, but I wouldn't expect it. I do think that he's someone that at $200, I mean, you're probably looking at 1 to 2 fantasy points, something like that, and that can get it done. Although on this slate, there's not really that many high price options to pay up for that I'm really confident in. There's a couple. This may be one of those slates where I get to double QB style lineups and play guys like this if I need to. So I don't mind mixing him in as a salary saver. I would not consider him in the captain spot at all. And it's going to be the same thing with Nwangu here at $200. I mean, he's been fine, I guess you'd say, in that one game in Week 10. 6 at $200 would be, great. But again, that was a return touchdown. Otherwise, he's been kind of useless on offense. So if you want to mix and match him in, you can. Probably the way I would play him is if I were going to play a $200 Nwangu, I'd probably go double QB Jets defense and pair them alongside Nwangu. So I'll get the double points there if Nwangu were to return another kick. Isaiah Davis is playing pretty well. I do expect him to be fine here in this matchup. Priced up a little bit for me for the output, but I'll mix and match him in where he fits in at 4,200. I don't mind playing him alongside Brees Hall in that they are without Garrett Wilson, and I do think that's going to open up some more check down work for these 2 guys at the running back position. Brees Hall here in a decent spot. I expect that he'll look like one of these games here with like 16.1. New England has been the worst defense in the league at defending pass catching running backs this year, but have been one of the best at defending running backs on the ground this year. So I think we're going to be looking at probably 14 or 15 carries, 60 yards, and 5 for 7 for maybe 50, 60 yards. And could he get into the end zone? Sure, but I would not count on it for Thursday night. So I don't mind getting Hall in the captain spot. If you play Hall up top, my favorite ways to play him would be alongside Fields, Taylor, or Folk. If I had to rank those guys in order, probably Taylor, Fields, and then Folk. Don't mind the cheap wide receivers as well, depending on how many lineups you are building. I think Fields had 16 pass attempts last week. So as we scroll up here, he had 11 attempts in week number 10. So 6 for 11. Probably not going to break out a lot of pass catchers. So that's why I'm kind of limiting what I'm looking at from the New York Jets side. And I do think this is a game that, although I feel like I'm giving the New York Jets coaching staff too much credit here, but this is a game that if they were coaching intelligently, you would look to keep the ball away from Drake May, who's burst onto the scene here in 2025 and looks like he can actually play. So I would look to keep the ball on the ground. I would look to keep methodically moving the ball down the field, but I do not think that New York is intelligent enough to take advantage of those kind of things. But that would be how I would play Breece Hall as we roll over to the wide receiver position. And this is going to be strictly guessing 100%. I don't think anybody has a firm handle on this. And with the attitude that everybody gets from Aaron Glenn, your guess is as good as mine. With Garrett Wilson being out, you have Tyler Johnson, you have Adonai Mitchell, you have Lazard, you have Arian Smith, you have Isaiah Williams, you have John Mechie. Mechie played about 14% of the snap share, I believe, in week number 10. He saw 16% of the snap share in week number 10. I think you probably expect that to get up around the 20% range. I would mix and match him in at $1,000. I don't feel good about it, and I would not consider him in the captain spot. Alan Lazard and Adonai Mitchell were both healthy scratches last week. I do think at least one of them gets on the field in week number 11 against New England. Not sure again with the lower amount of dropbacks from Justin Fields. I'm not sure how much it's going to matter, and they're priced up more than guys who are seeing significant snaps for New York. So I would not consider them in the captain spot. You can mix and match them in if you feel confident in it. I do not. Depending on their ownership, I would probably lean to fade Mitchell and Lazard. Could Mitchell burn you at any point? Yes. But again, there are a lot of guys that have been here since the beginning of this entire journey alongside Justin Fields that are going to be seeing a bigger snap share, in my opinion. So I would not have Mitchell and Lazard in the captain spot, but I would consider them in the flex, but they are not my favorite options at all. Arian Smith, I believe, saw 67% of snaps in week number 10, and that was with Garrett Wilson playing 40% of snaps before he got hurt. I think we're probably looking at somewhere between 3 and 5 fantasy points here for Arian Smith, probably 1 to 2 catches. Again, with this low volume team, there's just really not a lot to love at the wide receiver spot for Thursday night, but being priced down at 1,600, he would be one of my favorite or one of my top 3 options if I had to, gun to my head, pick one for the Jets. We'll go to Tyler Johnson next. He's played well in spots, and I think without Garrett Wilson in the lineup for Thursday night, you're probably talking 5, 6, 7 points from him. I think he's fine. A bit priced up for me, but I don't mind mixing him in the lineups where he gets his salary fits in. Isaiah Williams here. I think he played 43% of snaps last week and looked fine. I mean, he's had 2 games back-to-back where he's played pretty well. Don't mind mixing him in. Again, another return touchdown as well. So maybe something where if you're going to put him in a few lineups, maybe include the Jets defense as well. And that I do think this could be a defensive slog where this plays low on Thursday night. But don't mind mixing him in at 1,200. Again, he would be one of my favorite options if we're talking wide receivers for the Jets. Next up, and probably my favorite play from the Jets altogether, would be Mason Taylor. I think I will look to get Mason Taylor in the captain spot more than the field. And I don't mind pairing him alongside Breece Hall, Justin Fields, Nick Folk, or those cheaper wide receivers that we talked about before. Do like Taylor quite a bit here. He's in a top 8 matchup for the tight end position. New England has not been great against tight ends at all. So I will be over the field on Mason Taylor for Thursday night. You also have Jeremy Ruckert. I'll be over the field on him as well. At $600, he hasn't played poorly, and I do think he'll probably see his targets click up just a bit, probably 2-3 targets with this wide receiver core that Fields is currently operating with. But again, Mason Taylor is probably my favorite player from the Jets altogether. As we roll over to the defense and kickers, this slate's going to set up for me. I'm going to be somewhere between 15 and 25% on each one of these kickers and defenses. And I'm not going to play either one of them in the captain spot. Could Folk break out? I mean, he's had a great season given what the Jets have been working with, but he hasn't really shown that 20-point upside they could really take down a slate. So I will have him mixed in pretty well in the flex spot, but not something I'm considering for the captain spot. Same thing with the Jets defense. They've been fine. 19 would be great, but I don't think we'll see that again. I think you're probably looking something more in this range against Drake May in this offense for New England. So we'll mix and match them in about 15 to 25%. Not something I'm going to look to be way over the field on at all. As we roll over to the New England side and scrolling up top here, you have probably the best overall play on the board for Thursday. It's going to be Drake May. He's balled out this year, played really, really well. A lot of games over 20 points. Haven't seen that like huge ceiling, but in this game, 27 points is probably the ceiling for any player in this game. So don't mind getting to Drake May quite a bit up top. If you want to pair him alongside Trevion Henderson, Stephon Diggs, Kayshon Boutte, Ramondre Stevenson, if he plays, Patriots defense, Demario Douglas, Matt Collins, Hunter Henry, Borgelis, Jennings if he plays, and if Stevenson's out. Kyle Williams looked good in that one play last week. Hooper banged up. If he plays, you can get him in there. Westover's seen a couple of snaps as well. So quite a few guys here that you could pair alongside him. If I were going to pair him, I would try to get to Trevion, Demario Douglas, Diggs, Hunter Henry. So I'd probably go this way. And if we were adding a fourth option, I think you look at the kicker as well. And then you run it back on the other side with like a Brees and one of those receivers. I think that's a good way to go there. Or you can get, if you want to get Trevion out of there and you want to go with Diggs, I mean, something along those lines. Prefer 4-2s with Drake May up top. Don't mind getting to 3-3s as well if you have builds that you like. Talking about the running back position here is going to be a little bit of a guessing game as well. We're going to assume that Ramondre Stevenson sits, but just for the sake of this video, we'll talk about him just in case. And then Tim Jennings or Terrell Jennings, whatever the guy's name is, Terrell Jennings, we'll talk about him here as well. And then Westover. If both these guys are in, Westover is just a dart throw in large field contest, which he probably will end up being anyways. I mean, he hasn't scored a fantasy point on the season. If both these guys sit, I think you can consider him as a good or decent $200 option. Jennings at 3,600 would only be in play for me if Stevenson was out. But I do think he's priced up to the point where it's already accounting for Stevenson being out, and I don't really think we see an upside game here for Terrell Jennings. I think they're going to lean on Trevion quite a bit with all these other backs banged up. Ramondre, I assume he sits. If he doesn't, mix and match type of player. I will not have any of an injured player in the captain spot at all for me on a showdown slate. So if you want to mix him in, I'm cool with it, but not something I'm going to look to do myself. Trevion, busted onto the scene last week. I don't expect 31 points from him this week, but probably, 14, 15, 16 fantasy points, somewhere along those lines. So I don't mind getting him in the captain spot. If I were going to pair Trevion with someone, it'd be Drake May. I think you can go Patriots defense. I think you can go Henry or Borgelis. I would pick 2 or 3 of these guys to pair alongside my Trevion captain lineups. Rolling over to the wide receiver position, quite a few guys here as well. You have Steph Diggs. Let's get him in the captain spot. You have Steph Diggs, Kayshon Boutte, Demario Pop Douglas, return of the Mac Hollins, Kyle Williams. That's pretty much all you're going to need going 5 deep here. Kyle Williams had a beautiful play last week. If I can quit jumping your screen around, had a beautiful play, 72-yard catch for a touchdown. He looked really good, just on the surface on that play. It looked really fast. I see them starting to mix him in as we head throughout the end of the season. At $2,000, I think he's in play. I would not have any of them in the captain spot, but I wouldn't hate it if you wanted to put a couple in there in 150 builds and try to get, that game where he hits that 70-yarder maybe twice. I think you can win a slate that way, and he should be under 1% owned in the captain spot. So don't mind mixing him in if you want to play larger field contest and get a couple of him in your lineups. If you're playing him in the flex, I think that you can definitely consider him as a play in the flex in any kind of lineup where you get that salary in there at 2K. I think he's in a good spot here against the Jets defense. I just don't know how much New England's going to pass the ball. Matt Collins has really busted onto the scene in the last couple of weeks. Again, you can mix and match him in the captain spot. Not something I'm going to love to do, as I don't think New England's going to have to take to the air a lot. But if you do get either him or Williams in the captain spot, make sure you have Drake May up top. I will look to have, if I'm building 150 sets, a couple of each one of these wide receivers. In that I do think there is the ability for one of them to pop off. So I don't mind mixing and matching them in the captain spot. Same thing, Demario Douglas had a good matchup a couple weeks ago, 23 fantasy points. We've seen a 16. Same thing as Mac Hollins and with Williams. I mean, not going to look to get way over the field on these guys in any, flex or captain, but I will mix and match them in. Kayshon Boutte, keep an eye on it if he plays. Same thing with him. And then probably my favorite, but not really anything crazy. He hasn't really popped off since week 5. Would be Steph Diggs. Don't mind mixing him in as well. But if I had to pick a captain option for the New England wide receiver core, I would pick Steph Diggs. If you get either one of those guys in your captain spot, make sure you're pairing alongside Drake May up top. Next up for the tight ends, we have Hunter Henry. We have Austin Hooper. For me, Austin Hooper, if he plays, is just someone who's fine at 1,400. Mix and match him in, much like the wide receivers. Hunter Henry is going to be someone I'll probably be over the field on in the captain spot. He hasn't really shown the upside that he showed last year, but I think it's there. I do think he could have, 5-6 catches. If he had this game with a touchdown, we're talking about 15.1 fantasy points at, that salary. So 8,100 in the captain spot. So I don't mind mixing him in. If I do have him in there in the captain spot, I'm probably looking at doing a 4-2 with like a Drake May, Henderson, if we're doing a 3-3, and then if I'm doing a 4-2, Patriots defense or, Borgalis, someone along those lines there if I'm doing a 4-2 build for Hunter Henry captain lineups. And going over to the kickers and defenses, 2 of my favorite kickers and defense plays on the board, if I had to rank everyone, it would be Patriots defense, Borgalis, Nick Folk, Jets defense. But I don't mind either one of the plays. I think they're all fine at the salary. So I don't mind mixing them in. Again, I'll be at probably 15-25% on each one of those plays for Thursday night. That's going to do it for the breakdown. Thursday night football, the Jets traveling to take on the New England Patriots. Glad you all could be here to join me for this episode. Going to get this thing out on a Wednesday around 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully you can check it out. If you do and you get something out of the content, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I do cover as much NFL as I possibly can throughout the NFL season. Again, I appreciate you all being here. Hopefully you take down something large on Thursday night, and we'll see you all back for the main slate breakdown video.